What's up, YouTube? Dizzy here. Just got done playing first Berserker Khazan the other day. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. Went on Reddit to see what the thought of it was. A lot of people love it. Which is kind of strange, noting that the achievement statistics have like less than 10% of the players actually beating any of the bosses like halfway through the game. So that's strange how it's getting so much love. And I started commenting on this post about this guy wanting to play Liza P, and I was like, yo, Liza P is way better than Khazan. Khazan's not that good. Another dude responded to me, coming at me saying that Khazan has some of the most stellar boss fights in Souls history, and will probably go down in history as some of the greatest Souls game boss designs to ever exist, and there's not gonna be anyone that can match it. I thought that was stupid. I called him Lil Gup, and now I'm gonna make this YouTube video. Now, for first Berserker, I usually do, I want to do like the pros last, because it's good to end on a good note, but this game sucked, so I'm gonna do cons last and end on a bad note, just to emphasize how much I didn't like it. So first thing that was really cool about the game was the combat was pretty fluid. The parrying mechanics felt really nice too, and it didn't feel like Liza P parrying, to where like you have a parry frame. It's like classic parrying like Sekiro, where the enemy has a parry frame. Very satisfying, very responsive combat, parrying, blocking. It's blocking in this game is like stamina based, so you don't really, like, you will take chip damage from certain attacks, but most of the time you're invincible while blocking. You just take stamina damage, and obviously if you run out of stamina, you get exhausted. Like, nothing crazy there. So yeah, combat and parrying really nice, really fluid. You can do some cool combos, and they all just, it's really fast and fluid, and it's just cool. It reminds me of Neo. If you've played Neo and you liked Neo, you'll like this game. But if you played Neo and you didn't like Neo, you're not gonna like Khazan. It's just the way it is. They play like almost exactly the same. And speaking of Neo comparisons, gearing is like Neo. So you have gear sets with affixes on them that are randomized. And one really cool thing about this is you can actually like augment your gear, and you can change the stats on it. So if you want to try to stack attack damage on all your gear, you can do that. It gets expensive, and but it is possible, and you can change all the affixes on your gear. It's random, so like it's not exactly crafting. You're just rolling the dice, which I guess is like everything, but yeah, you just you change your gear to whatever you want it to be. And this is like one cool thing that I do want to emphasize that I like a lot about in Khazan and in other games too, is I was stuck on this boss fight, and I was like, I don't know if this was a fault of the game. The stamina recovery to get my stamina back to full was really slow. Like, without any stamina recovery stats, it is really slow. Probably takes like 2-3 seconds, maybe even longer than that, maybe 4 or 5 to get that fully recovered, depending on how much stamina you have. So I went back, crafted some stamina recovery onto my gear, which is like kind of like a minimal stat, right? Like, you probably want like attack damage, stamina damage, health, defense. Like, stamina recovery seems like a smaller kind of side stat. I put it on all my gear. My stamina bar was moving, and I was able to defeat the boss. I think that's really cool. It wasn't like the right solution, but it was a solution to beat the boss. You know, I go right back, change all my gear back to like attack damage and bullshit like that, while I'm just killing regular enemies until the next boss. And yeah, it's really cool. I'm not a fan of sets in video games, or tier sets and anything like that. I don't think they should be in video games, but there's enough different tier sets here to, like, you can make a build and not be like limited to like sets all the way. So I think my build, I had like 4 items from one set and like 2 or 3 from another, and then 2 or 3 from another. So I could, like, I had a bunch of like tier bonuses on the smaller end instead of just like one set with all the bonuses. I had a bunch of bonuses from different sets that stacked with each other, right? Like stamina damage. I had a bunch of stamina damage tier sets from just different things. They're like, hey, 2 tier sets from this one, you get stamina damage. 3 from this one, you get stamina damage. And that was all my build was based around. So pretty cool, yeah. I love Neo gearing. I think Neo gearing is awesome. And it should be in more Souls games because it allows for different builds and just play styles. It works really well. One thing that I had to grow on was the art style. It's like that kind of cringe. I don't want to call it cringy anime, but like it is that anime stylized art that you're gonna find in games like, you know, like the Naruto games or whatever, with like that over the top eccentric armor. Like you have like demon blood armor and like, you know, fucking murder armor and shit like that. It's all just like form over function, which is fine. It's the game, it's the art style, it leans into it, and it works well for the game. It's not my cup of tea, but it's not a negative for the game necessarily. It's just I don't prefer it, but it works for the game. It works for the game. And one of the last pros I want to talk about are elite enemies. So you can find elite enemies throughout the game that once you kill them, they don't respawn. And when you're approaching them, your screen goes to like a film grainy grayscale, and it makes the boss feel like almost intimidating and like powerful, and it's really, really cool. Honestly, I like fighting those more than most of the bosses. Is really cool. I like fighting the elite enemies. There were some cool fights too. They're more or less just souped up versions of like, you know, kind of bigger like side enemies or whatever, but it is what it is. They're a cool fight. I think my last pro I'm gonna talk about is the side quest. That does it in the Neo style. Neo does it better, I'll say. Neo does everything better than this game, but like as far as side quests go, how Neo does it is there will be like unique areas that you can fight in, or you're like going through like a level backwards, or you're going through like a level a different way. It's pretty cool. And Berserker does the same thing here, just different ways of going through the level, fighting, you know, just more different bosses. They're more or less copy and paste from other areas, but they're serviceable. You know, some people hate them. They are boring. Like they're nothing, like you're not going to find anything cool. I don't know if like Dungeon Fighter Online, if there's any like lore revelations throughout this game, but I did all the side quests and they were fine. I liked them. All right, so pros are over. Okay, good combat, good pairing, gear, has affixes and builds and stats like stamina recovery, like small stats like that are actually important. The art style, not for me, but it's for some other people. It works for the game. Elite enemies, super cool. Like I want to fight and kill this enemy and have it be permanently dead. That's sick, and you get some cool loot out of it too. Side quests, they're in the game. You don't have to do them, but I will say this: you should do the side quests because some of them have like unlocks, like armor sets and stuff like that you can craft. So definitely probably do them, but you don't have to. They're okay. They work. Cons. This game has some cons. Not that many cons, but like they're so significant to me that they ruin the game. Okay. And when I say ruin, I'm not saying like because of this it's a horrible game. I'm just saying I don't like it because of these things. Okay. All right. Limited weapon variety. There's 3 weapons in the game. You have your dual blades, which is like you're dual wielding like an axe and a sword. It's kind of like the staple weapon for the game. You have the great sword, which is any great sword, more of like a Monster Hunter style great sword, like a beefy thing, not like a Zweihander, just like an actual beefy great sword. And spear, which is what I used. So there's only 3 weapons, you know? And this is where like one of my real complaints are like, how do you only have 3 weapons? Like Neo has a bunch of weapons: Odachi, katana, dual blade, or dual swords, I think is what it's called, scythe, fucking staff with like little extendable balls on the end of it. Liza P has weapon modifications, so you can like take apart weapons and put their blade on a different handle for different stats. Bloodborne has, you know, weapon swapping, like where you can have one weapon that has 2 different functionalities with different skill sets depending on your skill abilities, depending on how you use them. 3 weapons, like it's just unacceptable. It's real, like that's just so boring. Like you don't have a chance to use, and it's not like like you get a legendary spear, or it's gonna play any differently than to what a normal white spear that you find on the ground is. The only difference is obviously the stats and what gear set's a part of. Just, it's stupid. Now where it does help out is a skills tree, and there's another reason why I don't really like this game is because there's a skill tree there to boost build variety. Okay, I like that. That's good. But by the time you're done with the campaign, so you have two different levels. You have like a weapon mastery level, and you have regular level. By the time you're done with the game, your weapon mastery level, I believe, was 68, 69, somewhere around there. Yeah, that means you could put damn near every skill point into your weapon tree and into the common tree, which is like just character buffs overall. So there's no build variety there as far as like skill points go. It's all going to be in your gear sets because you can unlock everything. And there's not going to be any scenario to where you're like, I want to put spears into, or I want to put some of my skill points into spears and great swords, because each of these weapons scale off something. Like spear is proficiency and willpower, and strength, or in great sword is strength and proficiency. So if you wanted to have both weapons, you would need to scale both of them properly, which means putting stats into 3 instead of 2. And yeah, it's just not gonna work, right? It's just you're jack of all trades on a master of one. And in these games, you kind of want to be a master of one most of the time. But there's not like an easy weapon switching system, right? You're not gonna be like, it's not like you can have 2 weapons equipped at one time. You're gonna have to go into your inventory, unequip the spear, equip the great sword. Doesn't work. Okay. This leads me to my next con, are the stat scalings. You have 3 stats that affect damage: proficiency, willpower, and strength. You have 2 stats that affect, I guess, like utility or defense: vitality and endurance. Vitality is for HP, endurance is for stamina. Well, there's gear weight in the game. Gear weight is affected by how much you can carry, which is affected by your strength. Okay, it should be an endurance stat, but it's affected by your strength. And so that means what you could do is you could just play greatsword, because that scales strength better than the other 2 weapons. Then you're scaling your damage, your weapon damage, and you're scaling the weight that you can carry. So you just scale your strength to 99, and you can just have the heaviest armor, most defensive armor in the game with A rating, like lightweight armor dodging. So I didn't do that. I played spear, so I didn't do that. But that's kind of like, I see that as stupid. That shouldn't happen. And another thing with this balance of skill points is it does not feel like even. And what do I mean by this? I try to do all points into attack, because I like doing that. It's just funny. I've played so many of these fucking Souls games that, like, if you don't put all your points into attack, it becomes kind of boring, because you just know the game, right? I played Neos, all the FromSoft games multiple times: the Surges, Code Vein, Wulong, Black Myth. I played all the Souls games. Okay, so yeah, I put all my points into damage. It does not work in this game. Does not work in this game. Now obviously, if you're like way better than me, you can make it work. But I'm telling you, the boss fights are too long for this to work. And so I guess the skill points issue is the boss fights are so fucking long, because the fights are like, you're not trading with the enemy. They will attack you for like a minute fucking straight, then you'll exhaust them finally, and then you can punish them, and it just repeats. It's like they attack you for like a minute straight, you punish them for like 30 seconds, and it repeats. And a lot of these bosses have 2 phases, right? Which I hate. I hate 2-phase boss fights. Like, there's good circumstances where this happens and it's awesome, but when it's a majority of the fucking game, I hate it. There's a majority of the game, a lot of 2-phase boss fights. So I was having trouble on the final boss. I had all my skill points into attack, some into HP, some into endurance, whatever. I could not kill this final boss, man. Was not happening. So what I do, I went back, I respect, I put like 50 points into HP, 50 points into endurance, and then the rest into my attack. And I one-shot the boss, right? Well, you know, one-shot it. I killed it right after that. Now this could be countered as like, that's a good thing. It made you diversify your build and not just stick into one fucking stat. You had to change your build to defeat the boss. It's like, yeah, I get it, but like, I want to be able to kill the boss with 99 proficiency and fucking like no health, you know? And if I was better, I probably could. Like, I'd have the perfect parry every hit and things like that. But the fact that it's not the fact that changing it like is the issue, like changing my skill points are the issue. It's just that as soon as I put a bunch of points into health and endurance, I one-shot the boss. So it just makes the points feel like not balanced at all. Why would I ever put, you know, my proficiency to 99 and struggle when I can just do 50 HP, 50 endurance, and then 30 proficiency, and the boss might take 30 seconds longer, but it's way easier and not even a struggle at all. Just a little, it could be seen as both ways, right? You're supposed to diversify, but then when you do diversify, it's really fucking easy, right? There's two arguments to that side. That was kind of a long rant. So my last 2 points are, it's a boring campaign, right? There's like 4 different areas. They're pretty long, and you're not going to get anything out of this campaign. And I don't play these games for campaign. It's just like, if you're going to make the campaign the main, like in the forefront, where it's different, like FromSoft games, to where, you know, you're not really playing a campaign. You're kind of playing through like a story, like you're a part of a story, not like the main character. It's all in the background and things like that. So I don't play these Souls games for the story. But if you're gonna make it like a big forefront, like, and have cutscenes like this game does, then like make the campaign good. It's not a good campaign. It's stupid as fuck. Okay, it is what it is. It's super predictable. And then last thing, enemy variety. Once you've seen the first act, you've seen everything else. Like, there's maybe like a few more different enemies, but you're not gonna see anything that's just like blows your mind. It's just out of left field. Everything you see is gonna be, you're gonna experience it pretty quick within the first 5-10 hours or so. Yeah, man, that's pretty much it. First Berserker, you know, it's serviceable as a game. There's no microtransactions. The performance is perfectly smooth. There's like no bugs, right? It plays perfectly fine. It's just overrated, and it's just streamers like praising the game. And same thing happened with Black Myth Wukong, right? The game is overrated as fuck. Streamers will play this game, and because like you're playing as like a dude with ripped ass and a fucking big cock, and not like a girl with like fucking titties and shit like that, like they'll be like, oh, it's the best game ever. There's no fucking women in my game. Hell yeah. But nah, this game is overrated as fuck. This is the developer's first attempt, to my knowledge, at a Souls game. These are people who made Dungeon Fighter Online, which I never heard of. So I mean, it's a good attempt. Yeah, I mean, probably it's better than some games. Like, it's better than Demon Souls, better than Dark Souls 2 and shit like that. But I'm excited to see what they do to improve on top of it, because what they have right now is just it's just gonna go down in history as a mid Souls game, right next to Code Vein, Wo Long, Rise of the Ronin, Black Myth. You know, fucking name 100 other Rise of the Ronin. Did I say that? You know, it's just gonna go down in the history as just another casual Souls game. There are no fucking stellar bosses in this game. No one is gonna talk about these fucking bosses in like fucking 3 months. Okay, people still talk about Ornstein and Smo. People still talk about fucking Ludwig from Bloodborne. People still talk about Ishin Sword Saint. Fucking. No one's gonna talk about first Berserker Khazan bosses in fucking 5 years, or even the game, right? It's just gonna fall to the wayside. That's my review, though. It took me about 50 hours to complete it. All bosses, all side quests, all the fun stuff. Check it out on sale. Probably be on Game Pass, I imagine, like a year or so. But that's all I got. Thanks for listening.